Marcus Reed stepped out onto his porch with a cup of coffee in hand to take in the tranquil suburban street that he had chosen to call home as the early morning sun was just beginning to warm the stone facade of 7607 Willow Ridge Lane. People had fantasized about the peaceful, tree-lined neighborhood where kids rode bikes and neighbors waved as they walked their dogs. For Marcus, it was more than just a house. It was a symbol of everything he'd worked for. In the end, all of his hard work at the firm, long hours at law school, and late nights in school had paid off. This house was his reward as a partner specializing in real estate law. But as he sipped his coffee, he noticed something strange. A group of cars parked along the curb, people he didn't know milling about, some looking through their windows, others taking pictures of his front yard. Marcus, perplexed, dropped his mug and walked to the lawn's edge. "May I assist you?" he called, his voice firm but polite. A woman in khaki pants and a floral blouse turned, her face flushed with authority excitement. "Are you the owner?" With her clipboard in hand, she demanded. "I am, in fact," he replied, extending a hand. Marcus Reed. She ignored it, her eyes getting smaller. "Patricia is the HOA's president. We're showing the house today. Did you not receive the notice?" Marcus was surprised and blinked. "Do you clean the house?" "My residence is not up for sale." Patricia smiled tightly as her lips curled. "Well, it is right now. Your property is in violation of a number of community standards according to the HOA's decision. We have scheduled an open house and posted it online. I would like you to cooperate if you want to avoid any more trouble." Marcus felt the words hit him like a slap. He glanced at the strangers wandering through his yard, one of them even peering into his garage. He raised his voice to state, "You can't just list my house for sale. That's not how it works here." Patricia mockingly waved her clipboard. "We are in charge of enforcing community norms. We'll find someone who will comply if you won't." Marcus maintained his composure despite feeling a surge of rage. He had learned patience over the course of his time in the courtroom. He spoke evenly. "I'm a real estate lawyer. I'm aware of my rights. Additionally, I am familiar with the rules of the HOA. You're way out of your league." Patricia's self-assurance wavered briefly, but she quickly recovered. She yelled, "We'll see about that," before turning to yell instructions at the other volunteers, who were now leading potential buyers up his walkway. Marcus took out his phone and started recording, taking pictures of every person, car, and intrusion into his privacy. He called the police and spoke calmly and measuredly about the situation. "People are trespassing on my property and claiming that the HOA has listed my house for sale without my permission. I require officers right away to arrive." He called his company assistant while he waited. "Send me a copy of the Willow Ridge HOA bylaws via email. I want every clause regarding property rights and procedures for enforcement." 2 flashing squad cars arrived in a matter of minutes. With raised eyebrows, the officer surveyed the situation as they emerged. After introducing himself and describing the circumstance, Marcus greeted them. Patricia ran over quickly and waved her clipboard. "Thank goodness you are here, officers. This man is ignoring the instructions from the HOA. He is in violation of noise regulations, landscaping codes," and the officer extended a hand. "Ma'am, is this your land?" Patricia was hesitant. The officer asserted with firmness, "Well, no, but as HOA president, then you have no right to be here without the owner's consent." He looked over at Marcus. "Sir, would you like these individuals removed from your property?" Marcus replied, "Yes, I do." Patricia was given a warning that she was trespassing as the officers began to disperse the crowd by escorting people off the lawn. In protest, she sputtered, but the officers did not react. One officer gave the advice, "If you have a legal dispute, take it to civil court. However, you cannot simply list someone's home for sale." Marcus looked over Patricia as the last of the buyers left. He whispered, "You're going to regret this. You have violated my rights and put the HOA in serious legal danger." Patricia glared at him, but now she was looking scared. "You think your lawyer talk can scare me? This neighborhood is run by me." Marcus gave a cold, self-assured smile. "Not for a while. He spent the remainder of the day collecting witness statements from neighbors who had witnessed the chaos and documenting every detail. He wrote a cease and desist letter to the HOA board and cited every applicable statute and bylaw. His inbox was overflowing with messages from neighbors by evening, some expressing regret or outrage over Patricia's actions. In response to each, Marcus reassured them that he would handle the circumstance. He sat on his porch as night fell, and the house became quiet once more. He was aware that this was only the beginning. He was prepared to fight, not only for his home, but also for the rights of everyone in Willow Ridge. Patricia had chosen the wrong man to play with. Marcus awoke the following morning to a flurry of notifications, including voicemails from the HOA board, some apologetic, others defensive, as well as texts from friends who had witnessed the commotion and emails from concerned neighbors. He made himself a cup of coffee and sat down at his kitchen table to look over the HOA bylaws that his assistant had sent him over the weekend. Cross-referenced with state property law, each clause was highlighted, annotated, and cross-referenced. Patricia had overstepped in every way imaginable, so Marcus grimaced. He wrote a formal letter to the HOA board detailing the legal offenses of trespassing, unauthorized listing, privacy invasion, and defamation, along with a request for a public apology and immediate removal of the fraudulent online listing. He attached video and photo evidence. Before he would sue, he gave them 48 hours to comply. His phone rang as soon as he hit send. It was his neighbor, Alvarez, who lived down the hall. Marcus, I just wanted to apologize for yesterday's events. Patricia informed everyone that you were leaving because you were unable to abide by the HOA rules. It didn't sound right, and I knew it. Marcus thanked her and reassured her that he would not leave. I value your assistance, Mrs. Alvarez. Please inform me if you hear anything else. He spent the remainder of the morning answering calls from additional neighbors, some of whom were embarrassed by their participation in the open house, and others who were enraged at Patricia for leading the community into a legal mess. The news had spread beyond Willow Ridge by noon. A video of the fight that had been posted online was quickly picked up by a local news outlet. HOA president lists black homeowner's house for sale without consent. Owner is a real estate lawyer was the blunt headline. Soon, reporters were requesting interviews as the outrage and support for Marcus in the comments section exploded. One of them, a young journalist by the name of Tasha, arrived that afternoon with a cameraman in tow, and Marcus agreed to speak with her. Marcus, standing on his porch, focused his explanation on the facts and the larger issue of HOA power abuse. He stated, "This isn't just about me. It is about every homeowner who has ever been bullied or intimidated by someone who believes that the rules do not apply to them. The law is clear. No one can seize your home without first going through a legal process." The interview received an immediate response when it was broadcast that evening. Patricia was summoned to an emergency meeting by the HOA board to provide an explanation. She arrived agitated and defensive, insisting that Marcus had brought this on himself by refusing to follow her instructions, and that she was only attempting to maintain standards. But the board didn't want any excuses. Due to the legal threat and negative publicity, several members demanded her resignation. The board decided to suspend Patricia, pending an investigation despite her refusal. The silent reminder of the consequences of unchecked authority was Marcus's presence at the meeting. He listened as neighbors expressed their concerns, some pleading for complete board restructuring and others for tighter oversight of the HOA. Marcus stood and addressed the room when it was his turn to speak. "I moved here because I want to be a part of a community, not a battlefield," says the author. Respect for one another and adhering to the law are both obligations shared by all of us. Any of you could experience what I did. It is high time that we held our leaders accountable. Marcus felt hope for the first time since the ordeal began as the room erupted in applause. The fraudulent listing was removed the following day, and the HOA board apologized publicly in writing and at a community gathering. Everywhere Patricia went, she was met with cold stares and whispered conversations as she clung to her position. Marcus, on the other hand, became a sort of local hero. Some of his neighbors came by to express their gratitude, while others simply extended a handshake and expressed their support. Because Patricia was obstinate and there were still those who resented his presence in the neighborhood, He was aware that the conflict was not over, but he also knew that the community and the law were on his side. Marcus felt a quiet satisfaction that evening as he sat on his porch and watched the sun set over Willow Ridge. Not only for himself, but also for everyone who called this place home, he had held his ground. Additionally, he was prepared for whatever awaited. The following days brought a new energy to Willow Ridge, like the neighborhood itself was coming out of a long, uneasy slumber. Marcus noticed that more of his neighbors went for walks, stopped to talk, and stayed on their porches at night. There was a lot of talk about Patricia, the HOA, and what it meant to truly belong in a community. Marcus was at the center of it all, answering questions from residents who had never spoken to him before. Some of the residents were eager to tell their own stories of HOA overreach, while others simply wanted to be assured that things would change. He listened attentively and offered advice when asked, but he always brought up the significance of fairness and due process. Patricia's grip on the HOA remained weak throughout this time. The board's investigation revealed a pattern of overreach, including unannounced fines, threats of foreclosure for minor infractions, and a long list of complaints from residents who had been reluctant to voice their concerns up until this point. More neighbors came forward as a result of Marcus's stand, and their voices increased in volume with each passing day. Marcus was asked to assist in reviewing the new transparency and accountability guidelines that the board began drafting in an effort to regain trust. He accepted, determined to make the ordeal beneficial to everyone. The community center was full when the next HOA meeting was held. As they announced the findings of their investigation, residents packed every seat, and some stood along the walls with their backs to the board. Patricia was slumped in her once confident posture as she sat at the end of the table with her face drawn and pale. The findings were read aloud by the board chair. Patricia had acted without authority, broken multiple bylaws, and put the HOA in serious legal danger. Her removal from office received unanimous support. A hush fell over the crowd as Patricia gathered her belongings and left the room, followed by a ripple of applause. Marcus felt both relief and empathy at the same time. He had experienced feeling outnumbered and being judged before being understood. Nevertheless, justice had been served, and the community could now begin its healing process. In the weeks that followed, Marcus collaborated closely with the new board to create a homeowner's Bill of Rights and a procedure for resolving disagreements without fear or intimidation. He taught his neighbors how to protect themselves and their homes by hosting property law workshops. Where there had been suspicion and division previously, there was now a sense of unity and a common goal in Willow Ridge. Marcus's own life began to move in a new direction. He went back to his job at the company, but this time he was more involved in the community than ever before. He became a member of the neighborhood basketball league, went to block parties, and even started a book club with a few neighbors who liked legal thrillers as well. People gathered at the house at 7607, Willow Ridge Lane, to celebrate birthdays, holidays, and the simple joy of community, and it became a symbol of resilience. While Marcus grilled hamburgers in his backyard one evening, Mrs. with a plate of homemade empanadas, Alvarez came by. She stated, "You know, Marcus, I think you saved this neighborhood." He shook his head as he laughed. "All I wanted was to keep my house." Her eyes were twinkling as she smiled. Sometimes that's all it takes, a lot of heart and a little courage. Marcus looked around at the faces of his friends and neighbors as the sun set and laughter filled the air. He came to the realization that home was more than just a place. It was also the people who made it alive, the community that persevered through hardship. He also knew that Willow Ridge was now truly his home as he silently raised a glass in a toast to new beginnings. After a few months, the story of what happened at 7607, Willow Ridge Lane became something of a neighborhood legend. Newcomers learned about it over a cup of coffee, while seasoned residents referred to it with a knowing nod. Marcus's life took on a routine that was steady and satisfying. He was not only respected, but also genuinely liked. He was invited to barbecues in the backyard, asked for advice on everything from property lines to parenting, and even nominated to be the HOA's legal advisor. In an effort to avoid making the same mistakes as before, the new board collaborated closely with Marcus to ensure that every homeowner's voice was heard. They used open forums, transparent voting, and a clear way to deal with complaints. A spirit of cooperation and mutual respect replaced the days of secret fines and arbitrary threats. Marcus was proud of the changes, but he never forgot how quickly power could be misused without control. Because he remembered how it felt to be the target of suspicion, he made it a point to get in touch with neighbors who appeared to be alone or uncertain. While he was tending to his front garden one afternoon, a young couple with their young child came up to him. The woman said tentatively, "We just moved in. We heard you are the person we should talk to about the HOA." Marcus knelt to greet the young boy, grinning. "Willow Ridge is your home. My door is always open if you ever require anything." After a period of relaxation, the couple began chatting about parks, schools, and the best pizza in town. Although it was only a brief moment, Marcus saw it as evidence that the neighborhood had truly changed. Naturally, not everyone was pleased. Patricia ended up selling her own home after being stripped of her title and rejected by many. A few neighbors watched from their windows the day the moving truck left. But they didn't feel like they were winning. They just knew quietly that the community was moving forward. Although Marcus knew that accountability was important, he felt a twinge of sympathy for the person. Willow Ridge flourished in the months that followed. Marcus ran the grill at the annual block party, where kids raced up and down the street, and the attendance was record-breaking. As the book club grew, Marcus found himself chatting with neighbors he now considered friends about everything from legal thrillers to classic novels. The house that had been the center of controversy became a place where people got together to laugh, listen to music, and talk about their experiences. As he sat on his porch one evening and watched the fireflies dance in the twilight, Marcus thought about how much had changed. He reflected on the fear and rage he had felt the day Patricia tried to take his house, as well as the determination that had kept him going. He came to the realization that his greatest victory was not in a boardroom or a courtroom, but rather in this very place, among the people who had become his community. He had helped establish a place where everyone could feel at home by turning a moment of injustice into a movement for justice. Marcus silently raised his glass in a toast of resilience, justice, and the power of standing up for what is right as the stars lit up above Willow Ridge. He was aware that there would always be challenges and new battles to fight, but he was also aware that this neighborhood could overcome anything if everyone worked together. Marcus also felt a deep, pervasive peace as he closed his eyes and listened to the summer's gentle hum. This time, no one could take away the fact that he was at home.